So we do continue the study of the book from Arya Shantideva, the Bodhisattva Karyavatara, and we enter the fourth chapter regarding the way we attend or we sustain the awakening mind. So this chapter is entirely connected with how well we have understood the commitment taken as a bodhisattva and how we maintain it. So usually when I speak or I explain about bodhicitta, I try to make well understood that it is a very deep engagement without any limit of time and space. Without limit and space explains that it's not a commitment we are taking for a few years and then we can renounce it. It is the type of commitment that one decides to uptake and will maintain whatever will happen within one's life. And well understood, it is not just within one lifetime. Once bodhicitta is attained, developed, one will maintain the bodhicitta engagement life after life. So it's not first, it is not a small engagement. I think this you know, but it is an engagement that we are meeting with in our everyday life as well. The awakening mind is our engagement made for the sake of all sentient beings. So it's not for some people that we like more than some others and that our mind can even change about, but it encompasses all sentient beings. So when we understand this correctly, and we take the engagement into bodhicitta and the bodhisattva vows, these vows are helping us to keep our motivation. When we are taking these vows, there is no doubt that all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas rejoice about it because it is a heavy task and very profound engagement. And as you know, for those who have taken the vows, there is one which is particularly profound and particularly difficult to maintain, which is to keep all sentient beings within our field of compassion. For a bodhisattva, the heaviest downfall is to take out someone or some beings out of one's compassion. So to lack this capacity to intake all sentient beings into one bodhicitta, into one compassion. This engagement goes very well with a clear understanding of the precious human rebirth. Because within this precious human rebirth that we have now, we have all the possibilities to think about benefiting other sentient beings. If we would be engaged personally into warfare, if we would be engaged into lower realm, if we were reborn in lower realm with a lot of pain and suffering, how could we really think about helping the others? If we take a rebirth within the God realms or in hell, how can we think about helping all other sentient beings? We have now a precious human rebirth, the capacity to meet the Dharma and practice the Dharma in our everyday life. Not too much suffering, not too much pleasure, so that we can effectively think about the others. So if we are not doing it while we have a lot of positive circumstances around us, how can we imagine to do it later if we do not meet Dharma again, or if we reborn in lower rebirth? So we have to make a good use of the present situation, which by many means is favorable to the practice, keeping in mind the impermanence of phenomena, impermanence of rebirth, and the unknown situation in which we could find ourselves within hours or days, and using the best way every day, every moment of every day, that we can dedicate for the practice and that we can dedicate to help other sentient beings. And again, when we are talking about helping other sentient beings, it does not only refer to physically engaging to help them, but praying for them and engaging into any practices dedicated for the sake of all sentient beings is also helping them. Within this chapter, it is also explained that when we are taking the Bodhisattva commitment, this is an engagement which has incredible consequences. Correctly respected, it is an engagement that will allow us to accumulate enormous amount of merits. And we are not talking about merit in the sense of positive things that will help us personally or that will come back to us personally under the form of pleasant situation. Once the positive causes have been dedicated for the sake of all sentient beings, we are talking about merits which are helping us to progress spiritually. And how does it help other sentient beings that we progress spiritually? It does because we have this awakening mind. And through the awakening mind, through bodhicitta, as we are progressing spiritually, as our wisdom develops, we can help more beings. In this way, every time we dedicate some merits, it is helpful for our motivation of helping all the other beings because it will help us to effectively provide meaningful help for them. In opposite way, if we are not progressing spiritually, if we are not respecting our bodhicitta engagement, we are truly deceiving all sentient beings. Because if we are not progressing on the path and if we are not reaching enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, because of our inability to practice bodhicitta, then all the beings whom we could have helped won't be helped by us, and who knows by whom they could be helped else. So we are letting down a lot of beings. On the other hand, there is no doubt that if we let down so many beings to their suffering because of our inability to practice spiritually, our future might not be so bright. Can you imagine you engage into the path and you vow to help all sentient beings, but by laziness or other mental afflictions, you let them down. You do not reach enlightenment. You do not progress on the path. It's a huge amount of beings that will not be helped. And consequently, because of your spiritual, let's say, inability, you yourself accumulate a huge load of negativity. So once we have taken the engagement for the Bodhisattva path, it is important on the daily basis to constantly observe how to respect it, how to develop it. It truly becomes our life to put into action on a daily basis the Bodhisattva path. I used to say in the teaching that there is no difference between spiritual life, spiritual path, and daily life, because within our daily life we need to place all our spiritual understanding. And this is even more true when our engagement relates to all sentient beings, relates to how we can help to provide positive actions, positive advice for as many beings as we can. And we can all the time, every day, because we are confronted with many beings, some of whom will heavily challenge our compassion. This is another aspect we should not forget, is that the more somebody will challenge your compassion, and the greater the possibility to maintain bodhicitta. Somebody who is engaged on the Bodhisattva path does not have or cannot have enemy. At the most, he or she will have master of patience, master of compassion. Some very challenging situation can turn out to be the best way to test your own compassion, to help you to develop more understanding, more compassionate understanding of life. And we have, through our life, quite a certain amount of these challenging situations, which can be very helpful for our spiritual development. So understanding bodhicitta and the engagement of bodhicitta well gives us this kind of strength, this kind of power to maintain spirituality, maintain the practice in every circumstances. If we can compare with this kind of strength that hunters or fishermen or army people can have sometime in their action against the life of the others, they can sustain cold, heat, very difficult situation. So if they can have this kind of stubbornness to kill, how would it be possible that as a practitioner we don't have at least the same stubbornness to help? They can bear very tough conditions just for the pleasure of killing other beings, animals, but in some cases humans as well, which we know the terrible consequences. And we would not have at least the same possibility to uphold our bodhicitta or our wish for bodhicitta. The people in various army and guerrillas and so on are trained to kill opponents in any circumstances very fiercely. During their actions, they are extremely aware, they are very concentrated, very careful about everything which is taking place around themselves. And nevertheless, they manifest a kind of enjoyment in engaging into this kind of very dangerous situation and dangerous actions. And eventually they might get paid a handful of dollar, which lasts a few months or a few years. While for us, our main enemy, if I can say so, does not have any shape, does not have any arms, legs, cannot assault us with a weapon. our main enemy are not especially clever, are not especially courageous. These are our mental disturbances. They are all our mental constructs which are enslaving us. All these disturbing mental factors which are trying their best to disturb my mind and move me away from my compassion. And at the same time, these kind of enemies of minds which have no form are not existing in anywhere else than in my own illusion, in my own projection. So how could they succeed in disturbing my mind, in disturbing my life? How is it really possible that I do not maintain the capability, the strength, the concentration to tame them? And eventually, my payment is not a few handful of dollar or euro. My payment is how much I will progress on the spiritual path and how much wisdom I will develop, which will not bring me short-lasting type of pleasure, but which will bring me a result which will last as long as my engagement lasts, which means as long as there will be sentient beings to help. So these are the real enemies. If we need to find any of them, these are the mental afflictions, and these are the actions that we need to set in order to keep a peaceful mind to maintain our motivation and the strength of our motivation. So when I hear someone saying that he or she lacks strength, lacks motivation in daily life to practice, then try to remember this comparison with those who are hunting. They can have very strong motivation to kill, and you could not have very strong motivation to help. Yes, keep this in mind for the sake of your own motivation. And on the basis of this strength and enthusiasm to enter into the practice, then we can maintain our awakening mind and progress on the path with that type of warrior energy, this kind of crazy enthusiasm which makes us to think that we better be cut into pieces rather than to lose our objective, to lose our goal, to lose our mission, which is to help as many beings as possible. And this becomes especially true when we understand, when we approach the understanding of the true nature of our reality. Because, as a matter of fact, who are those enemies? Who are those mental afflictions that we have to fight against? Can we find them anywhere? Can we touch them? Can they touch us? Can they hurt us? They are just illusion. They are just projections. They are, in many aspects, completely non-existent. So how could they effectively disturb me? How could they effectively take me away from my path, from my directions? They cannot. They should not, because they don't have this power. They have no power. So without any foes, any real disturbances, then I can only be but tenacious and in some way stubborn on the path toward enlightenment. There is this this line number 44 of the fourth chapter, which says, "Let my entrails ooze out and my head fall off, but by no means shall I bow down to my enemy, the mental afflictions." This is the spirit of this chapter. Yes, this is at the same time, the never give up of the fourth chapter, and the undisturbable motivation to apply bodhicitta in our everyday circumstances. All right, let me see if I will forget something from the chapter. Yes, we can read the line 47, which will summarize also the understanding of the non-inherent existence of mental afflictions, which says mental afflictions do not exist in sense objects or in sense faculty or in the space between and not anywhere else. Then where do they exist and agitate the whole world? This is an illusion only. Liberate your fearing heart and cultivate perseverance for the sake of wisdom. Why would you torture yourself in hell for no reason? That could also send us to the teaching about the 6 words of Tilopa. Please do reread the 6 words of Tilopa on a daily basis. So on one side we have an undefectible engagement for bodhicitta, recognizing our precious human rebirth, which brings us situations of life in which we can, of course, apply Dharma, in which we have not too much disturbance to apply bodhicitta every day. When we lack motivation, let's remember how much strength people of no faith or bad will are able to generate, so that we can generate at least as much strength as they do, but for the good purpose. When we are facing our own mental disturbances, mental afflictions, let's ponder, let's reflect upon their non-inherent existence in order to pacify our mind, in order to be left with mainly our bodhicitta engagement. At the same time, with a strong energy, a strong enthusiasm to maintain within our field of compassion all sentient beings, without any wish or without letting any possibility that one being is taken out of it. That is the chapter 4, and that will be the end. I think we have already enough to meditate for the coming weeks, months, years, eventually lives. Okay, good. Then we will dedicate all the merits, take the opportunity to dedicate all the merits accumulated by listening carefully to the Dharma teaching for the sake of all sentient beings.